You're live.
Welcome to the Dream Show Live. That's it. See y'all later.
That's the intro.
And we're back. Segment 2.
I love the structure, Steven. I love the glasses. I love the lighting. I love.
There's no. This is really hard to do.
Yeah.
To do it all right. Because I
How's
thought
that?
my lighting was really good, and then I got told that I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty bad actually, and I was like, oh, well I had been just being really proud of myself. So now I
I mean,
try to.
that's the critical ear listening though, because nobody told you it was bad. It was like, here's the improvements. You changed two things, and it looks pretty dope.
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're right. You're right. But now I see why people a lot of times wear shades
Yeah,
inside. Now people are like, why they always wear shades inside? I say, oh, okay, because
because
it's
there's a
bright.
million lights in front of me.
It's bright sometimes, and just looking at stuff where there's a light close to it is
Yeah,
that's tough. So
I
yeah,
feel you. I feel you.
just out here doing the thing on a Wednesday morning ish. I
It's
guess
still
it's
morning.
pretty much morning everywhere, right?
It's still
You know
Buenos Dias. We hadn't touched TARDIS.
what is that?
That's afternoon. Good
Tardis.
afternoon. Buenos
Tardis.
TARDIS.
Tardis is just afternoon.
Yeah.
That's how they
But
say that.
but they'll say Buenos TARDIS to you and it's dark outside. And I'm like, but isn't it Buenos Noches? And they're like, nah, that's
It's
like
not late
9:30.
enough. Yeah, it's relative, right? That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So, hmm. Like, how did people meet back in the, when there wasn't like a clock or whatever? It was just like when the sun was at a certain spot, you just kind of knew to start moving.
You knew it was time to meet Jeff.
Yeah.
Say, huh? Seems about right.
You start moving, like, and then, like, obviously, I guess naturally, if it was too hot or whatever, you would not do things at those times of days, probably.
Yeah.
Um, oh, that's
I
just
mean, I think
interesting.
that's mostly what guided it. What up, Wallow?
What's that? Ecological dynamic
Yeah. You just
as well.
kind of like, when the birds are chirping, that's when you should be out doing stuff.
It's
When
all
they go home,
studio.
you go home.
It's all CGI studio created birds and palm trees. I can't really
Yeah,
see it because I got these shades on.
this green screen stuff is getting amazing.
It's AI. Isaac's not even real. He's not even here.
Next segment. Are you real?
Real what?
I mean, are you real?
That's pretty deep, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to put segments in.
I
So
keep it real though. I do keep it real, and sometimes keeping it real goes wrong. Uh,
okay.
but yeah, I think I'm real. I
So
exist. Y'all all exist in my world. Basically, is how I understand things so far.
I was just thinking about this because when you go train somewhere, just like just pick a hole in the wall anywhere in the world, you can often find yourself keeping it real, trying to they find out you're a brown belt or you're a
You're a
competitor
person.
or just a person and you're new meat and they just want to chew you up and spit you out.
Indeed.
When is the last time you found yourself as a black belt in that situation, like where keeping it real was going wrong? Like you found the 22-year-old that's trained since he was 10 and you're like, whoopsie.
I don't know.
Because
I mean, there's
what do
been
you
guys,
do in the situation that how you are now in your mindset? Because there are people out there that you're like, oh boy, I grabbed the bull by the horns today. Whoopsie.
yeah, like younger me. I don't know. I would have just kind of fought fire with fire
Yeah.
and saw whatever happened. But at this point, it's just better to go ahead and just accept what is. And if I know that I'm going to be with somebody like that, it's okay. It's not a big deal to concede.
You
Certain
can smell it
positions
on
or
them.
certain ideas, and like, dude, there's no reason to try to match that. Uh,
Yeah.
that's what they're better at than you. They're not better at the game than you. They're better at going harder and being faster and more athletic and stuff. So for me now, if I try to do that, try to fight fire with fire, they're just going to win for sure. Almost, I might still
Right.
catch the guys that aren't as good yet, but definitely the ones that are good and young like that, you can't do it. That's why they call old man jujitsu has been a thing since before I was old,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. Um, at a certain point, it's going away, and I think there was a good talk we had the other day a little bit about the champions and like UFC and stuff being. Yeah, Saf brought it up on the fight companion thing when we were on there. Um, about the champions are being older now, like in UFC and stuff,
Yeah.
than they had. Um, like 34 or something's the average age.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think, and I wonder if that's similar, going to stay similar in jujitsu or not. And 34, I guess, is not necessarily old, right? I think that's the prime and late prime of most men as far as like peak mental and physical combined abilities. Like you've been younger and
Yeah.
maybe more physically whatever, but you weren't as mentally good as you are now, like as
I
sharp
feel
or
you.
as
Yeah.
experienced
Yeah. Yeah.
or, like most of us would tell you now that I'm better than I ever was, at the game, but I just
But can
can't
you
do it.
physically
Yeah,
keep up? Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah.
Just can't do that. That's why that's where the thing starts to make the shift. And that's what I'm saying though. And for me too, I'm 42. I will be 42 at the end of this month or whatever. So yeah, young me, 30 me, 35-year-old me even was still out there getting down, and feeling like I could mash the gas pedal on guys that were those guys. And then the cards fell how they fell, back
Right.
then. But now it's like, yeah, that's just not going to be the move. Period.
Yeah.
It just ain't going to work.
Yeah. And the like being keeping that pace and keeping that it's a little bit of disregard to your own safety. It's like when you watch a guy move, you're like, oh, you've never injured yourself. You've never just run into a brick wall and just collapsed and been like, well, my body's made of jello.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is once you have you learned your mortality a little bit, you gotta play differently then too, depending on where or what you know ends up happening in that way, because everybody ends up getting hurt somehow, and it just
Yeah.
is what it is. That's part of the price. It costs at least that much of something, and everybody's going to be different. Not everybody's going to have the same, big major stuff, and that's the thing. I think that the better you can avoid the big stuff, the better you'll be at the height of your mental, and so trying to figure out that
Mhm.
game to have it last longer, where you can make it to that higher mental state and still be
I feel
physically
you.
capable. And maybe a lot of that could be facilitated by our friends in New Hope Regeneration. This is not a
Not a
specific
plug,
advertisement, but
but
no, like
yeah.
it's just like they're definitely like out there pushing that kind of science to the forefront for a lot of people, and for grapplers and athletes and things like that. If you can use these things regularly, and it has the benefits that it's proven to have, then maybe more people are going to make it to those
Well,
later stages, and with medical sciences, we will see you know older champions because their
yeah.
bodies are
Yeah.
are capable of surviving the
Well,
punishment.
and not New Hope specifically, but New Hope specifically. I've seen quite a few of my friends that were I had like direct data from because I had rode with them. I had like felt them, and then I felt them after. And you're like, oh, it is helping. Like it is helping things like maintain. Is like you feel like you did when they like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm rolling like I was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You're like, ah, oh,
That would be sick.
that would be great.
That would be sick.
Egghead wants to know if you're going bass fishing. Oh, the glasses. Oh man, those glasses are for multiple occasions other than bass fishing.
I could be going bass fishing, but I'm here talking to you, Egghead.
not to make enemies on our show, but
Oh, I'm ready.
I feel like that bass fishing is one
Oh,
of the
wait, no,
most like
I'm not gonna make enemies with bass fishers.
yeah, I know
I thought
you're
we were
in
gonna make egghead.
you're in
Okay.
the you're in the wrong lane altogether
Well,
for that.
yeah, I got cool. I know cool people that bass fish
But why do we have to go so fast to get to the fish?
because you got to race to the spot, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you.
You got to get to the hole, you know, and it's
Yeah.
basically that's it. It's an athletic competition then, and you know what I'm saying that thing's won by horsepower,
I,
and,
I hear you.
and
I
so
hear
that's
you.
the deal. The
I
bigger the
mean,
motor,
okay. The
the
most
bigger the
entertaining
floater.
part
I don't know
about
if
any
that
bass
works.
fishing event is the
Bass
takeoff.
fishing,
Like
yeah,
it is the takeoff. Like I'm going to make a clip here where I make enemies with bass fishermen, but
that's how you
when
talk
they're
about
all
it.
sitting there and
Bass
all those
fisherman's who
V8s, I mean those are V8s on the back of a John boat. Like it's crazy.
hey, if trying to win, you know what I'm saying?
Have you ever been in a like real like bass boat?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
they
a
put it.
while.
I mean, they put the throttle down,
Scary.
and you're glued to the seat.
Look,
Like I remember being like nine
I'm
years
not a big
old.
fan of the water like that. I don't, not my thing, not necessarily.
You'll
You,
fight the world, but not the water.
you can't win. It's too much.
You're right.
It's stronger than you, and yeah, yeah. I don't.
You have to the flow. Be like water. I think is what they said.
I ain't figured it out.
Next or new segment:
At least,
Stephen Feet fights water.
hmm. I gotta get like, and this is gonna happen at some point this year. Pretty sure. My nose. Did we talk about that?
No, we haven't talked
I,
about that.
I wonder if that's part of it. With a lot of that stuff too. It's been broken
Deviated
probably.
septum.
Yeah, at least there's definitely like a problem with it. In one side of it right now, and has been for the last little while. I can't breathe out on one side. So there's a lot of people that's probably this way. Um,
I'm that way. I can't breathe out of the right side of my face.
well, it affects you more than maybe we consider.
No, I know it does.
You just kind of get used to it, and then obviously sleep and different things. You got to. Um, and so finally got convinced to go to the ENT and get looked at. And the lady was like, "What is he got? A little deviated septum?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think one side's a little like messed up. I can't really." And she like started to look at it. She's like, "Oh, hold on." And she's like, walked out. And I was like, "That's probably not good." That's, and so she came back and she was like, "I tried to
Swing your
find,
little legs.
tried to find Doctor whoever who's like the specialist for like noses and stuff." Because you're gonna need to see him or whatever. Because
Yeah,
she
yeah,
did the like touch thing, and she probably felt, she's like, "This is more than I'm trying to deal with, dog. You don't want me on this job. This is like you got to call out the big dog." And so so that's gonna take a few weeks of recovery and things like that too. So health is gonna be important.
Sorry.
What was that?
That was the video of a highlight from Old School Mid South Classic. Continue with your ENT story. Sorry.
Whoa.
It
Whoa.
just
So I just got to go
Wi-Fi.
get a CT scan, and they're going to tell me my face is probably broken lots of places.
That's a distinct possibility. I mean, do you have? I know that I can sit there and when I start having these conversations, I can think back to like specific moments where I'm like, yeah, I felt a crunch there. Like, was she like mushing around and you're like, ah, I remember that one.
Oh, bro. She didn't even, that's what I'm saying. She didn't even really get to touch it. She just like barely got started and was like, "Oh yeah, this ain't
This
my
is
job. This ain't my job. This is somebody else's job. I can do like a little one-sided, little deviated septum thing. This man, he's yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I feel you.
It's been broken a bunch of times, like a bunch of times, and I even had cracked orbital bone one time. So
Nice.
yeah, good times. Fighting's really good for your health. Um, it's known for making your last longer.
I mean, the deviated septum is something that I think that I started off with a football helmet breaking it
Your own or like
in my own. Like it was those old. If anybody ever played like in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it
nobody
was like
played
the
that.
ones that were left over from the 90s, and they were like they had the hard forehead pad. I think they were like the Riders or something like that. I don't remember the brand, but like they were like hard and they didn't have any padding in them whatsoever, and it was just like a spare helmet most of the time.
Mm.
And that was the one that I had before they gave me the concussion proof one. And I remember like tucking my head, and when I tucked my head, it it's the same helmet from the 90s Egghead. He said, sorry, I played in the 90s, but like it's the same helmet. Like I lowered my head, and when I lowered my head, the chin strap like broke. And when it broke, it slid forward. And when it slid forward, I just remember coming up and my whole like front of my face was bloody. And I was like, huh, that's probably not good.
It's fine. That's totally cool. It's
And
fine.
then it just, I mean, I've been hit in the face with so many things that like it, it's broken it quite a few times.
I'm sure, and sometimes I remember it being one sided, and then it's like, oh shoot, man. And then somebody hit it and it's like, oh, I can breathe
Oh,
the other
it's
side. Now.
fixed.
Turns out that's probably not sound medical like treatment for your coach setting your nose in the gym is probably not
Yeah.
really the best like
Nah.
medical.
Patting you on the back and being like, all right, 3 more plays, right?
Look, I'm good.
We
I'm
got
just
to get
saying
across the 2 yard line.
it's important. Hey, his job's on the line, bro. It's important for him.
I
Your
feel you.
nose is nothing.
Civics 101 is not going to teach itself.
He's got kids to feed, bro. Your nose can be replaced easily. Y'all got insurance?
Hopefully.
Whatever. He'll be up, in the middle school next year.
He'll be tougher.
Hey,
Well,
yeah, but that's gonna be fun. I'm really not excited about that, but
yeah, I'm kind of over surgeries at this point. I'm making every effort I can to not have to go under at
yeah,
any opportunity. I'm I'm not starting to like. I've always kind of had the belief that like there's no way that like a bunch of times in your life going under anesthesia is good for you.
no, I imagine not. Um, that's scary too. Like that idea of like you're just out, and then the crazy part about that is like how like when I had my knee surgery, and they kind of explained to me what it's like, and sometimes and so like haven't thought about that further too. Like when you go out with like that stuff, they can bend your body however. Like they
Yeah,
can and then so like the way that like we feel like we can't move or whatever a certain range almost like there's certain things obviously they can't do but like within your range of motion, like the neuromuscular connection or whatever isn't there. And
right.
so like it's really you're really pliable. And so that's just been a super interesting kind of thought thing to me too, is like when that disconnect happens, right? And I guess that's kind of like the yoga practice and different things like that, is when you can hit that disconnect is when the release or whatever it is kind of happens.
Yeah.
uh, so that's just been an interesting weird thought that you just put back into my brain for the first time in a few whiles.
Have you ever watched a surgery, like a knee surgery?
Like in person or on like TV or
Well,
something.
on YouTube or anything. You don't have to be
You
in person.
No, that kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. You know what I'm saying?
Because what you're talking about, like watching somebody, like leg surgeries are violent.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then
They
like
use sawzalls. Like DeWalt is
mm,
in there.
yeah, dude was like, "You're gonna walk out of there," and I was like, I didn't. I didn't walk out of there."
Daily Triangle. I've offered for you to come visit me.
Who said that?
He's Josh was asking if he could move in with me, and so that he was on this beach every day. And I was like, "Dog, it's
Mm.
open."
Yeah, flexibility is made up by big muscle groups.
Yeah.
They want to hold you back. They don't want you to be flexible.
Fle- Flexibility is a hoax. But I have I mean there's something to it. Like you brought up the yoga thing and like the deep release and that
No, it's
type of
definitely
stuff.
mental, right? It's definitely mental in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, and like the people that I know that practice like actual yoga, because like my first injury with my hip, I tried to tough it out for a while, and so like because I thought it was my lower back. That's where the like
Mm.
thought process was. I was like, oh, I think my lower back's completely like shot. I better not like go get any medical attention. It's fine. Which it turned out it was my hip, but I got really into like actually doing yoga because I've met a couple people during that time that had like real neck injuries and like real back injuries, and they were like super into yoga. And like what I mean by that is like the daily practice of it and the meditative side of it, because I think that we've almost like Americanized it a little or westernized it too much at this point, where the sitting is kind of the point. You're supposed to sit with yourself, with your thoughts, with the stretch, because part of it was I was doing a yoga class one time and the lady was like, release your jaw. And I was like, huh, I was clenching my mouth because like the position I was in was challenging, but I gotten more flexible. And where I was sitting, I could get deeper, but I was holding myself back because I was mentally like focused on the task.
Mm. Have you ever been in one of those situations where you felt like you were gonna cry?
I mean, describe the moment, but sure. The
Talking about
4:30
right there,
this morning.
like you're talking about like that right there. Like
Yeah,
you're doing the pose, and you feel like you're on the edge of some like thing right there, and then in that moment is like, oh man, you start tearing up right when you start to feel,
like the emotional release.
yeah, and then
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah,
you let
yeah,
that, if you don't let that go, or you try to shut it down or whatever, then you don't really get to sink into the position or whatever it is too sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
So I think this is a deck, like a direct, I don't know, at least
Well, there's a lesson there in that. Like I've heard it
learning
a
in
couple
that.
times, like from a couple different like people that teach meditation. Is that like the idea behind meditation too? Is that like you're not supposed to focus on the thoughts. You're not supposed to focus on what's happening. You're supposed to know it's occurring and actively ignore it. But the act of actively ignoring it, you're defeating the purpose again. You're supposed to just sit, and you're not supposed to like try to keep up with it. You're not supposed to pay attention to anything. It's supposed time's just supposed to pass, and you're supposed to exist, and that's the whole point. So like the lesson is that like you don't like the emotional release. If you grab onto that emotion and feel the emotion and ride through the emotion, do all that, well then you'll probably miss whatever it is that it was holding you back from.
Yes.
And
No,
that was the
that's
spiritual section.
no, but I think that kind of stuff's important, right? Because
Yeah.
until that had happened, I didn't know that was possible, and like I'd only ever had it happen at really, a couple weird times. But then when I had gotten with this uh, therapist that was helping me, with my body getting healthy out in San Diego and stuff, she was like massaging different, stretching and stuff like that,
Right.
and it kind of happened, and she could feel one time that I was like not, I was trying to block it or whatever. I really was not comfortable with that, with somebody else, especially like in that position. So she kind of explained to me what it was or whatever, and kind of, got through it that day. And I was like, oh, shoot, okay, this might be part of like the thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be like making sure that I can, just relax through some of this stuff with like, because fighting definitely did like some trauma to my hips and my back and different things like that. And so like having to work through that stuff really hurt, but then also when it got relaxed and released, my body was like, oh, this feels really good,
This
man.
is like,
So it just
oh,
got released. It wasn't like a sadness or
we
anything
got to
like
move,
that.
boys. Hold on. Keep talking.
Yeah, it wasn't like a sadness or any kind of thing like that. It was more just like a relief. You know what I mean? Your body's kind of flooded with that kind of stuff. Um, So yeah, so that kind of stuff's cool. It takes some work to probably get to that stage, but um, I definitely think that we've we us whoever, I didn't do it, but people did, like, make the flow stuff of yoga a lot more important and a lot more like prevalent than what it is like sit, like you said, the poses are for you to kind of sit with that and try to work through it, and with that you'll gain strength, and your body will be stronger in those positions, which will make you overall stronger. So yeah, it's good stuff. I don't know what happened to Isaac now. It feels weird just like talking to myself right here. There he
I'm
is.
back. It's that tropical weather, dog.
It start raining.
My special AI effects got way too good there for a second.
He's in 4D.
You know,
Was it? That's
I
that
started.
Web 3 stuff you've been talking about, huh?
Yeah, I started smelling stuff and feeling rain, and I mean, this stuff's good. It's really good. So
Time to get out.
yeah,
So, but yeah,
but
sit down and be quiet.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And
That's it.
the
Well, you can like
yoga,
chant and stuff though too. That's wrong. You can like you that's part of sometimes rhythmic drumming or different things like that are a part of like helping you get into a relaxed like flow. There's different ways you can meditate, right? You don't have to just sit down and shut up, I guess. But like you know, you definitely need to kind of like just let go of whatever else is trying to do it. That's the thing. Like once you have the thought, that's when you realize you were. It's like, oh crap, it was working,
yeah,
and then you got to go back to trying to forget that you realized that it happened or whatever. It's like that's the practice, because at first it's like 10 seconds or less, and then it's like you know, a little bit longer, and then eventually you're like sitting there and you're like, whoa. Yeah, it's kind of like driving the car. That thing we talk about is like you're driving down the road, and all of a sudden you're several miles down from where
yeah.
you were, and you didn't realize what happened. You just kind of like zoned out. That's kind of the same thing in a way, I guess.
Well, and it's a lot of the I did during that time that I got into that, especially during the hip surgery, like when I was just kind of like not able to move around or do anything. There was a couple different teachers that I looked into that were talking about that, and like the Eastern philosophy on like prayer and meditation is, like I said, sitting's the point. The point is to sit there, and the point is to experience nothing.
Yeah,
They also, though, in the Eastern like ideas, they don't ignore the fact the crazy power that our psyches have. And they go, yeah, there is a wild roller coaster that you can get on, and it's fun.
yep,
And you get to experience everything to the fullest extent because of our human ability. But that's not the point. And you can go experience that, like Hindu like type of followings. Like it has a very like thing is that like you can have the fun that this world has to offer and that everything has to offer as much as you want. When you're ready and you figure out that that's not the point, come over here and know what this, in my own personal interpretation, is that like there's this place and this thing that we call, that they call nirvana, or that people call like this point that is
Kurt
nothing.
Cobain.
Yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing there. There's no pain, there's no happiness, there's no like, and it sounds bleak when you start to bring in the fact that like there's no love, there's no happiness, there's no attachment, there's nothing. Zero. You feel that's like the floating above water when it's dark. Like that's the goal. Not
Float tank.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those are cool. Those are. I got to do that again. I haven't done that in a while.
So you've done a float tank?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And San Diego did it several times, and then here there's a place, Flo Robbins. Uh, I did it a few times here. I haven't done it in a while. So yeah, that's pretty cool to me. That's a weird thing. It's the same thing that we're just kind of talking about. It's like if you can't sit with yourself, you're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, you're gonna get out and be like, that was relaxing, or scary,
Or
or
yeah,
yeah,
it could be. It was definitely scary at times, a little bit, and definitely it's mental for sure as much as anything. Because what the first times I did it, I had whatever's on my mind, when I went in there, kind of throughout the day or whatever it was, had just like, I was staying at home with Thomas. He was a baby, and so the first time was basically just like this Elmo song about brushing your
Right.
teeth. It was just like in my head on repeat, on repeat, on repeat. And I was just like, man, I just wasted
That
all my
sounds
money. I
terrible.
just wasted all my money on this shit to come down here, And this was like the nice one, like the ones that like Joe Rogan was plugging all the time, like the Float Lab ones or whatever. These guys had set up a spot
Yeah.
in San Diego, and so it was like the meat locker one. So you'd be like
Oh
stepping
my
there, like it
god.
wasn't like a pod, it was like a real chamber or whatever. And so I'm just in here like brush your teeth, brush, brush, brush your brush, brush your brush. And it's like, oh my God, why did I do this? And then all of a sudden the lady was banging on the wall, like telling me my time was up or whatever. And so
That was
I don't know,
awful.
I don't know what, but see, that's what I was saying. Is like, I don't know what time, because I did like an hour and a half, because that was the suggestion for the first like time. And so that's it. I don't know at what point I disassociated or whatever,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
went to sleep, or I don't know what happened. And I don't know for how long, but she came and got me at a 90-minute mark. And I definitely didn't, I never would have laid anywhere for 90 minutes. Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
if I, especially just singing the Elmo song, eventually, like, I had to figure out, I don't know, like something happened. I convinced myself to relax, or whatever the thing was,
Right.
like clicked. So it's trippy. It's trippy. Um, you feel different weird tensions in your body. You kind of sit
Well, I
in
mean,
your
there's
spirit.
the weightlessness aspect of it. Like, probably every morning that it's not super choppy, like I'll swim out and just like float for like 20 minutes out in the ocean, and just like doing that first thing in the morning is super nice.
Mm, sounds awful.
So,
Is there sharks there?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's
That
the
would be something I would
Caribbean.
look into. You know what I'm saying? I would check out, see,
I thought,
look
look,
into it.
man, I
How many sharks in my
going
area?
to beaches and going to like, especially foreign beaches. I've grown up knowing that like you should follow locals, man. And sometimes you'll be in there with the locals and you're swimming, and they're like, "Oh man, not very many sharks today," and you're like, "Wait, not very many."
Mm,
But I mean, for the most part, sharks are more scared of you than you are of them. Think about it that
I
way.
don't believe that shit for the most part.
Okay. Okay.
Like, I'm more scared of them than they are of me, for sure. I believe that.
Yeah, but when it's go time, I don't think that they have a fear button. And also, when we say that about animals, I think that we misidentify fear with our own human emotion that is fear.
All right. So yeah, Chad GPT says y'all got some sharks. They're pretty chill mostly. Uh,
Yeah, like nurse sharks.
yeah, y'all got the kind you can snorkel around and stuff over
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
People, y'all are chill.
yeah.
So
Now, if you go a little bit further down, like towards Cuba and towards the Bahamas and all that, that's where I think that's where all like the tiger sharks and
they
stuff. They've
get
got bull
off.
sharks here.
Yeah.
Bull sharks are the ones that they found those in the Alabama, the Mississippi. Like they swim up into freshwater. The bull shark are those are the ones you don't want to mess with.
Get you a shark up there in Alabama. What you gonna do with it?
They found them. They found them all the way up the Alabama River. I don't know if they've been as far as Montgomery, but they've
Love
been up.
bugs. That's what I'm saying. They've been there first. They were there first.
Ooh. Yeah, they don't know about Pangea.
Oh, a lot of people do know about that. It's actually pretty well documented. But the sharks don't know about it. They just out there existing, right? They're just where they are. And if they got disconnected from wherever, they evolved like other animals did. And some, I'm sure there's stuff like that, that is like a rare kind of weirdness that's happened, in the way that tides, I guess, go.
Yeah,
Uh, the world's a strange place, dude.
it
It's
is.
super weird, and nobody knows what's going on. Nobody really knows.
Yeah, I
But
feel
it's,
like that's kind of like
I think that goes back to what you said about the there is nothing kind of. It just that Nirvana thing is like, yeah, that's the final. like answer. You know, is right. It's all just nothing really anyway, and everybody just kind of goes on. Everything just kind of goes on, and there's no
Your
reason to like
reality is
figure
what
it
you
out.
pay attention to.
Yep, exactly. That's what I said early. Just like, yeah, y'all just only kind of exist in my reality. You know, things are going on obviously everywhere else, not
Yeah.
here, but it's just kind of a weird like simulation thing.
Each person's reality makes up a small portion of everybody else's reality, but that reality is not the same to every person.
No, we both have the same moment and experience a very different, you know, thing
Yeah.
in that
I
way.
mean, it's as simple as how like we process everything is that there are people that don't even process the like facial expressions the same way. Like my face doesn't look like to them what I think it looks like
Mm.
because your brain is making things up. Your brain's making up for missymmetry. Your brain's making up for things. There's things that we'll put there that aren't there. Or words. There's words that you'll put in people's mouths in your head that they never said. And the same goes for you for other people. Is that there's things that you've never done that exist in other people's heads,
Mm.
good and bad.
No, for sure, for sure. It's true, and it's
There's
crazy.
good things that you've done for people that you have no idea that you've done for people, you know, because you exist as a certain piece of something to somebody. But the
Yep.
point in knowing all that is to do nothing with it, right?
Just keep on living, man. Livin.
I don't know. There's something about
Jim.
this beach. I don't know if you can hear the seagulls in the background or whatever, but I feel like that was good ambiance for that segment.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. What do you guys think about segments so far out there? What kind of segments? What y'all want me to do here?
Yeah, what do y'all want to talk about?
Y'all
Because
want
our
bits? Y'all,
next,
because I got some comedy stuff that I want to do, but I don't want to do it if it's gonna just be a waste of y'all's time. Because I just laugh at it to myself.
but see, isn't comedy a waste of time? That's the point.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm laughing about it when I'm doing the stuff. Right? We talked about that too. It's like I get just as excited sometimes, just like coming up with this stuff rather than even like doing it. Sometimes it's just like getting it on written down or like coming up with a funny idea. It's just like, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's come up with another one. And then it's just you get on these like idea streaks and don't really do anything with some of them or whatever. So yeah, that's
Well,
I don't know where that came from, but that's definitely exactly how it
the
goes.
creative pocket.
That's how it goes, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is about the like entertainment aspect of what we're all doing here, like with the
Are you not
jujitsu,
entertained?
with the
Yeah,
jujitsu, and
sorry.
with the like shows, and with everything that's like coming together of it, is that I don't know. Like I found something in jujitsu long before any of it happened, but like when the pandemic ran through in 2020 and everybody was like, ah, the whole world's shutting down. That was the first world event that like I experienced when I was deeply entrenched in something that like if I wanted to, I could bury my head in this world and nothing else existed. And that's what people talk about when they get on the mat, like the hobbyist when you're just going to the jiu-jitsu. It's a way to with your body in an active movement when you get to a like decent enough level. And when I say that, I mean you can start finding this around your blue belt. Like it's not hard to like get kind of a rhythm into where you start to achieve the only thing that matters to you is the task. And so you can start to learn that like meditative state while you're in a thing that your body knows how to take care of you. And so you can kind of let your mind start to let go of all the other things because it has to. You have to pay attention to everything else that's in front of you. And eventually you get to the point that that have to gets quieter. And you don't have to, but your body will just kind of do the thing and you can kind of like move and do that. And I think that like that's in that active meditation that you can get that runner's high. That's kind of, I think that's jujitsu and combat sports is kind of the first place I experienced that. And then I started having to run for it so that I could be in better shape for the thing I was doing. And then I discovered runner's highs and I was like, oh, that's what these guys are talking about. And it's that flow state. It's that like tapping into that thing. And I don't think very many things exist in the world that allow us to tap into that flow state, which I hate saying that. I've said it 3 times now because it's
What'd
such
you
a
say?
buzzword. Flow state. There we go.
Mm.
4. Good job. But I read the book, The Rise of Superman, I believe was the name of the book. I can't remember the name of the author. But
That Peter Parker.
but that's a book where he was talking about this like idea of like high performance athletes being able to tap into this thing that we have as humans of flow state. And in jujitsu, I unlocked that. And so like in this entertainment and everything that we're putting together to like highlight that, it's a fascinating world. And like you said, it can just become the reality. Like how weird is our reality? Like for the most part, we sit around working on projects, talking about projects, doing things that all revolve around that sport that gives you that like flow state thing. It's a weird reality, you know?
It is weird. Jiu-jitsu's dumb. The way it's set up is kind of silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get a lot of those things. And I just say that like just to say that like that's what it is. It's like it's kind of silly in the fact that it's really hard to get a grasp on things, and you do find those times of, like you said, the even early on, like pockets of creativity, and you're like you in your zone or whatever.
Yeah.
You're feeling it, but then it'll definitely get taken away. It gets knocked back. People catch on to your stuff, or whatever. Something happens, and so it's just like that constant, again, never ending cycle of always having to be somewhat up to speed, and in the pursuit of whatever the thing is, in that world, or it's going to catch and pass you, and then you won't be like in that world anymore. You'll be of, like kind of that thing, but you won't be like in the thing, in that way. So
Yeah.
this has been really cool to find this other avenue to be in it, like you said, and be creative and still have fun. Because it definitely still feels very much similar to do the shows.
Yeah.
What the heck, to do the shows and like hit that like same like thing over the course of doing the shows, several
Right.
times in the week or whatever. It does provide, in the same way that competition did, without the physical demands of it all, so it is cool to still have that relationship with it, and like kind of being able to live vicariously in a way through other people's, competition and stuff like that, in the room or whatever it is, like that. Still like feeling the energy, like we talk about that a lot. It's
Right.
kind of the same thing, ties into other stuff like that, is like being around it, feeling the energy of the people in there competing, and everybody else that's like on the creative team or whatever,
Yeah.
the way that the vibe is for that. That says that there's so many words that really make sense in some ways if you think about what it's really kind of talking about. But the vibration of the rooms,
Yeah.
it's
And
high.
just everybody's the excitement for the sport and like things are
We're on the same
going.
channel. We're on the same
Yeah.
frequency. We're like, what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like we're on the same page. What do you want to call it? Like a lot of times it's
Yeah.
like it's just that is whatever that is. And so it's just like this space of the flow, like you're saying, or whatever that is, that just kind of like exists here for this short time, or for whatever it is, and then it goes back to other places, but at it's still like this thing.
Yeah.
um I don't know, kind of like, I guess, the internet, or whatever that is, the network. It's still a network of things, and thankfully we can communicate from distances like this, because otherwise it would only exist to us, maybe
Just in the room.
in the
Yeah.
room.
And those are the stories that you hear about that are, ages old that you like finally a video surfaces, or like I know coming up in the MMA world, like I always heard the like stories uh about pride and about like what that was like and stuff, and it was like, even then, like there was a little bit of media coverage, a couple guys that would like run around with microphones and like interview people, and so you get a little bit of the vibe of what it was like. But like for one, as a community, we're getting to watch us grow in a way that like never before was that possible. I mean, you've got cameras that are 4K cameras in people's pockets.
Yeah, I
So
don't even
like
know how to use it.
don't worry. Most people don't, and you're like a four stripe white belt. Like you can beat up anybody on the street.
That's for sure. I don't know. Many
Like,
people on the street, man. That's what I'm saying. I think the average person is probably better at that than ever.
oh, for sure.
The
That's
average person. I think the average number of person is way higher in skill, but it's because the tool is much higher quality as well, and you're not having to maybe use as much true technical knowledge of the thing to get it done. You can just kind of click a couple buttons.
so. I got two segments for you before we get
Okay,
the bottom dumped out on us here. I'm watching the
uh-oh.
sailboats get like washed right now,
Let's
but
go.
um my first one was on that point that you just made. I saw somebody talk about the fact that they feel like that the average practitioner is worse than they were back in the day. And when he was saying back in the day, I think he was talking like 12, 13 years ago. And in jiu-jitsu. And I feel like I hear what he's trying to say is that it's watered down across the board. But dog, a purple belt 12 years ago and a purple belt now are not the same. A blue belt 12 years ago and a blue belt now are not the same.
That's a tough one. I think. I
Yeah.
think. I
How do
think.
you feel?
I think. Oh, see, this is the thing. If we're talking about average, then I think the numbers are so much higher now. It's really hard to feel what that average is, and like see how many purple belts are there in the world now versus how many there were in you know what's 12 years ago. Oh my gosh, I'm saying the 90s. That was like 2013, was it? Oh, I was a purple belt then. Oh, we'll destroy y'all. Yeah, 12 years ago, purple belts were way better. We kill all the purple belts from now. We're working way harder, way smarter, way more like rough and tough. Yeah, definitely. 12 years ago, the purple belts better than the purple belts now. Can't say much about the other belts. I was only a purple belt, so the black belts were better than me, and so they may be better now. I don't know.
Sorry, I had to slide further into my corner.
Yeah, that's weird. 12 years ago, yeah, that's not what I thought it was.
Yeah, no. 12 years ago was like your purple belt era.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's not. Yeah, the purple belts were definitely better back then. So sorry.
Okay, so is your reasoning purely personal?
I don't know what you mean.
I mean, is it from your personal experience, or are you basing that just off of
Well, I
a
personally
group?
fought the purple belts back then a lot,
Okay,
so
okay,
they were
okay.
definitely
So
pretty tough. But
you're saying that they were tough.
I don't know. It's mostly like a joke. The game was different. Like we're playing different games.
I feel you.
You know, the average person. That's what I said. Who are we talking about? Average competitor, average practitioner, average person that's walking into the gym somewhere. I think there might be the average purple belt might be worse now.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about the everyday person, because more people are
Okay.
getting them,
Okay.
that aren't super high level competitors. And I think even maybe 12 years ago, there was still a little bit more like being held back in a lot of those ways from guys getting purple belts or higher ranks, even without some sort of like higher level of competition or proof of work kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um, that's really tough. You know, it's really tough to say. That's so like I think it's close. I think the jujitsu as a whole is way better because there's just so
Yeah.
much more. There's so many more people doing it. The ideas have been really passed around. Smarter people have gotten involved in it too. And not saying that smart people weren't involved then. I'm just saying there's just more people
There's
again.
more of them.
More,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. With
There's more of the
technology and more money and more
minds. Yeah.
science, more doctors and different things like that too. It's not just fighters jumping in and doing things like that too. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's really interesting and a tough question to really answer because like I said, the purple belts from 12 years ago are the world champions and stuff now. Probably
They're now
they're
they're
the
now the
best
black
guys.
belts
You know,
and the world champions and the I
but
feel that
you know,
side of the argument.
I don't know. I don't know because there's guys that's the thing is like how long have they been training at that point? It's just a different world, man.
Yeah.
You can't really I don't know. It's always like the eras argument, like who's the best, and each era has their own best, but the rules and like the way that the game was played was different. And like in basketball or whatever, in the 80s, a dude would just like elbow you in the mouth as if you came through the lane or whatever, and it was cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like now,
Yeah.
if you like bump into somebody, it's like a
Yeah.
flagrant foul or whatever.
Yeah.
This dude's, you're getting ejected and stuff like that. And it's like,
It's a
so,
different game.
so you
Yeah.
can run faster and jump harder and do all that stuff into that space because nobody's gonna like kill you for it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and so I don't know how much that changes the game because like if they were doing that to each other all the time, these big, huge athletes, they would be hurting each other a lot. And these
They
guys
wouldn't make
actually,
it as long. Yeah.
again, right? It's exactly the
You
same
don't
argument.
have the wisdom.
Well, yeah, and it's just your body will be broken down, from taking the pounding, and that's why they're
Yeah.
changing a lot of the rules in football to make it, to where you don't kill the quarterbacks and you don't kill these
Longevity.
receivers and things going across the middle and things like that. Because yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like it's just it, I get it, but that was the game when we were kids was to kill the man coming across the middle if he touched the ball at all, or even came close to getting the ball. Um, so
Yeah. Different color helmet.
yeah,
It didn't even really have to be.
you had a couple steps if you threw the ball to get him, and it was still like completely legit. Now to just nail
Yeah.
a dude,
Yeah.
within a couple steps, the quarterback or anybody, uh, you're supposed to be trying to take people out. That
I
was the
remember
gig.
my
It's like
first
if you
day.
hurt them, they're not that good.
My first day on scout team. We came out and somehow I found myself past the offensive line, and there was a guy with a different colored jersey on holding the ball, and his back was to me. I never checked up. And I was like, yeah. I turned around and the coach high fived me. He said, good job. Don't ever hit my quarterback again. I was like, oh.
You better get rid of the ball.
he, he, sorry, coach. I just see red.
That's what you told me. That's why you brought me here.
That was the first and last time Isaac played scout team.
But yeah,
On
the athletes
defense.
are better for sure now than ever before, right? That's you got to say that in everything. Everybody
Yeah.
is better than they were in anything back in the day, but the rules are different, times different. The medical technology is different. That guy tear his knee, get his ACL, he's done.
Yep.
A few years ago. Now, no big deal. Within a year they're back playing. And it's fine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, that is crazy. Like I've having some of the injuries I've
that
had.
was you were
Those are the
done. You were
yeah.
done.
You
It's
just were
like
the uncle with a limp.
over, son.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
Like and now it's just like normal.
That's wild. So
It's just a
on
little pop, coach.
so on that segment, did you watch the first episode of the Grapplers?
Yes.
What are your thoughts so far? You were the star of episode 1.
Uh I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I was definitely in it a lot, by nature of the first episode being the draft and things like that. Uh it requires a lot more of me being in the shots and like controlling the action in that way. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty interesting. Um and that's the other thing that whole thing is just completely off the hip. pretty
Yeah.
much. Like I
Yeah.
had notes on people. That's the paper I was picking up, is like who was in what order and things like that.
Yeah.
But as far as like scripted or what to say and how things were gonna go, uh, yeah, I was just up there basically kind of winging it from when we got there. I just gotta start trying to see how they're setting up and then listen to what they're saying. And then it's like, okay, so what do y'all want me to do? And they're like, oh, you got it. Here's what we want, and then they'll change, two or three parts of that direction along the way because of some, reason that it needs to happen, not, just because they want to make changes. And so it's like, all right, I'm gonna go with that, and then these guys, they're coming up there and I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't know, I don't know who's gonna get bid what for.
Yeah.
This season we had the intentional walk being added in, and like
That was one of the
Caleb,
craziest moments, editing wise. We're moving again, boys. Hold on.
and so Caleb didn't get picked in that section of his round or whatever. Um, man, that was pretty weird to see. I felt pretty bad for him in that moment and didn't really know what to kind of do there. So you just gotta call it as what it is, and it moved on. Uh, so yeah, it was just that part was crazy. And so just going through the whole thing, seeing the draft playing out, and then a couple of the things is like the trades that they were trying to make. Uh, I forgot that people were some of those trades that we're trying to make, and how it was going. So there's
Matt
just
Elkins was the first one.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens in those days too, and because I'm trying to stay focused on doing my job and like staying in character or whatever, I don't really try to get too outside of whatever's happening in that space, uh so I forget a lot of the stuff that happens too. So like the Abe LaMontagne situation, uh that to me it was one of the hardest like things to handle in the moment, like mentally and like emotionally or whatever. Like I didn't know what the hell to do because there's like all the teams were like whatever the maximum big was right away. They then like I'm not paying that much attention for
Yeah.
real. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? On the first bid for a damn backup. You know what I mean? Like I know
Right.
Abe, and I'm not hating on Abe. It's not him. It's just anybody at that point. I was just like, all right, there's other good guys. I know people want him, but I
And
don't
then
think it's
everybody threw their whole budget at him.
immediately. And so I
We-
wasn't looking at it that way. And man, I'm not an official. I'm just like a face. I'm just up
yeah.
here on the mic
Yeah.
talking or whatever. So like my opinion, I thought isn't really the one that matters here. You know what I'm saying? It's like that
Yeah.
should be on somebody else official to make this decision. So I turned to Brendan and he's like, oh yeah, Stephen, I'm gonna let you make that decision. And why? Like why me? Because
Luckily, Abe was thinking on his feet and he took
Carlos
it out of your
Machado,
hands.
Major Sauer, Hodger Gracie, Dean Lister, they're all telling me that they deserve it and that they, were first and they had it. And who am I going to tell these guys anything? Like, you know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
like, no, you're not putting this on me. You know what, Abe? You choose.
Yeah.
I just got like that was literally just like
Hand him the mic.
by the seat of my pants. I was just like, because I was a coward, I just passed it off to Abe and was like, everybody's
Good
like, oh,
thing
that was a
Abe
great
played.
part of the show. Good move, good move. And it did work out well. You know what I mean? But that was all just because I was a coward and didn't want to like be involved, be the one that made those choices.
Just lean into it next time.
Yeah, now I
it
know.
was
Now I know. You know what I'm
it
saying?
was your this is one of my favorite little film fun facts is the movie Clerks.
Yes.
You know how Clerks 1 was in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when Kevin Smith was being interviewed about that and asked about it, they had a like film critique that like asked him. They were like, "Hey, uh, they said in this article that you were shooting it from the perspective of the security cameras." because it's in, you wanted it to feel like it was inside the world that they were in. And he was like, yeah, 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 that was it. And that was the lore for a long time. I remember believing that at one point, was that like he was like on purpose. And then later on, he explained that it was he was shooting underneath lighting that needed to be color graded, and he couldn't afford the color grader. And they were like, oh well, we don't have to do that if it's black and white. And he was like, black and white.
There you go. Right. And there's the invention of a classic thing, you know.
Yeah,
And it that's art, right? That's the thing.
that's everything. Adapting.
You see it. But no, but like that's the thing is like
Yeah,
you make, and this goes like we've talked about so many things, like you make the thing, whatever it is, you do the thing, and
yeah,
people are going to receive it how they receive it,
yeah,
and their percent, just like we said earlier, how they see it and what they get from it or whatever. That's not really what you get to decide always. They do that, and so they put on him that this was an art. Oh, you did this because you're such a great artist and you wanted it to be da 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 da. Who is he to argue with that?
yeah,
Right. And it's true that he did it because he needed to get the art out, and so maybe that's
right.
what makes him a great artist, is that he understood it needed just to get out. And a lot of us would never have done that. We would have just let it sit, maybe because we couldn't get the color grading done at a certain point or whatever it is. We just would have not done it, and that's one of the things I've definitely learned through the PGF stuff too, is just like, just run it. Let's just run it. And as long as we got what we need, for the most part, we're going to be good. And certain things are going to be better or worse at times, but that ain't going to stop it. That ain't going to, don't slow it down. Just, it may slow it down a bit, you know what I'm saying? But it ain't going to stop it. So just keep rolling, and especially live for 6 or 7 hours a day for 5 days a week. Yeah. I don't know. I just black out, and become, the dream or Bobby or whatever, the guy that's out there
Yeah,
on the mic. It's not really me anymore at a certain point. Like I have my information in my brain, but I'm not like me. I'm just like
yeah.
out there. So
It's like Brandon says, when we get new people on the team and whatnot, it's like, I don't necessarily want you to make up a character, but be who you are and what everybody loves, and take it and turn it up to 11.
yes, 100%.
So,
That's starting
but
to hurt my eyes. I can't
you're
believe I
future.
made it that long. Oh my
I
god.
was impressed. I was wondering when they were just going to get thrown off.
All right.
But since you're here with us, Steven, the Dream, what is going on in Mid South news as we close out this show?
We working. We're working. Trying to talk to some venues, trying to get numbers for all that kind of stuff, because you know, got to be responsible and stuff. So we're working on that, trying to solidify the date. Can't get too specific on all that stuff yet. The weight is maybe between a couple weight classes now. We said 175 to start, but
At
we
least 175. We'll
we may be
figure it out.
playing. Yeah, we're still negotiating with our partners on what we're trying to do for that, or what the right first move is to make this thing the best it can be in that way, too. Try to partner perhaps with like a seminar, in the daytime, from some people that are well known enough to get people to come in.
Prominent names. Some
Yeah,
people that people would enjoy. Like, I mean, look,
yeah,
it's not, you're not baiting a
the
fish
show,
hook to go bass fishing.
a
We're
big
we're
drama show. Yeah,
we're putting together something that everybody would enjoy. This is what we're looking for. And
right.
you're not trying to go to a tournament. Anybody that's been to any of the tournaments that we've been a part of and anything we do, it's not the type of tournament that you go sit there for 8.5 hours of nothing to have 30 seconds of action and then go home. Like, it's here for everybody to put on a show, everybody to have fun, make clips, be a highlight or make a highlight.
And get it
Like,
up and get it down, and that's
yeah,
it. You know,
like
And
So we'll be letting out content on it. We'll be letting people know. We'll be leaking things. Let us know who you want to see. Uh,
I got the belt, Jason.
you got the belt.
Yep,
Okay.
I got the rights.
So as we're heading into our production of this, I'm excited because
I'm in
like
my golden boy era. Let's go.
going through the old footage, it's funny because it's kind of like watching us grow a little bit. Because like me and Keelan, like I was experimenting a lot during that time, and so like there's some stuff that I watch and I'm like, oh god, what was I doing? But then like it makes sense and it's fun and it's really cool to like have this come back and have it be a part of the like whole thing that we're doing and the wave of jujitsu and like I don't know. And so I feel like we've talked about this that the goal of these shows is to kind of give the regional like some shine and give a bunch of different work and like kind of give everybody like their, you know, piece.
Yeah,
But no, yeah, excited to be able to put
I
some,
gotta
you
go
know,
read to these kids really soon, man.
money. Yeah, that's I'm sitting here closed now right now.
My bad.
And
I'm just starting to get anxious about it.
oh yeah, all right, I got you. So this is your heart out.
Pretty soon. Yep. Go ahead. Finish up.
You're good, man. Well, let's close out and you tell everybody out there what they need to do to follow you or the Mid South or anything that's coming up.
Yeah, at the Dream 10P, that'll pretty much find me where I'm at, or my name Stephen Aiken. Mid South Classic, I think is what it is on Instagram. We may make that better or worse or whatever.
Word.
At the Daily Stack, I'm gonna go read to these children at the local community elementary school and try to enhance their lives with my ability to read out loud. So
Word.
wish me
We'll
luck.
see everybody next week, 10 a.m. ish somewhere.
Two fingers.